Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So the left is really going crazy over Amy Coney Barrett and her nomination for the Supreme Court. And I get it, but I think they're focusing on some of the wrong things. They're solely focused on abortion and Roe versus Wade, which is absolutely imperative. It is important. I don't think, though, that they're going to overturn because it's not a popular opinion overturning Roe versus Wade. And you can look at statistics and see that regardless of who the president has been, whether Democrat or Republican, abortion rates have fallen consistently over decades. But to me, the most dangerous and detrimental part of Barrett's nomination has to do with the fact that she is a tried and true corporatist. And right now, more than ever, we need unions, we need employee rights, we need workers to have a voice and a say and some power in this country. Because during COVID, we've seen everything become even more disparate. The power dynamics, financially, everything has just become even more polarized. And the wealthy have gotten more wealthy, and the 99% have taken a huge hit. So here's what I'm talking about, and here's what I mean, and what they're not talking about on mainstream media. Barrett has sided time and time again with corporate interests over the rights of workers or over the rights of average Americans in general. And those being hardest hit by COVID and our failing economy is what is going to be a driving factor in whether or not we end up with another Trump type of populist again in the future. Because a huge part of why Trump was elected was because people felt ignored and they felt like their needs were not being met by either party, by the traditional establishment, left or right. So they wanted to blow it up. They wanted somebody who was speaking their language. So here's some examples of why Barrett is she's a horrible human being. I'm sorry. She just is. You can talk about family values. You can talk about what a good Christian she is. Oh, she adopted 2 children from Haiti. Okay, wow, good for her. She doesn't care about people. She has proven through her decisions and her judgments that she only cares about corporate interest. So here are some examples. So The Intercept reported that shortly before Trump nominated Barrett, she ruled on a case involving Grubhub gig workers. And unfortunately, their workers are required to sign arbitration agreements upon becoming employed with the company. Well, the workers sued after Grubhub refused to pay them overtime. Barrett ruled in favor of the corporation. She allowed Grubhub to sidestep overtime laws and refuse to pay their workers for overtime hours that they worked, that they legitimately worked. And as The Intercept stated, this ruling in this one case affects all workers because it forces workers into arbitration with their employers, and their employers are the ones who handpick those arbitration judges. They pick the arbitrator. So it's very rare that person running the arbitration is going to rule against the person who hired them and brought them in. And this prevents them from seeking justice in a court of law. It prevents them from going and suing their employer. And it prevents workers from coming together to take employers to court in class action lawsuits. In addition to that, Barrett signed on to this letter which condemned the Affordable Care Act's birth control mandate. So she doesn't agree with abortion, But she's also unwilling to pay for something that could prevent pregnancy. How Republican of her. You don't want to prevent it, but you don't want women to have autonomy and to say what does and doesn't happen with their own bodies. I'm sorry, but when we all collectively have to pay for increased rates every year for our insurance plans so that men can go get their little blue pills so that they can have an erection because they're eating animal foods and their arteries are clogged, and so that's why they're not able to raise the flag. But, all of our insurance goes up because of stuff like that. You're telling me that's necessary? That's a necessary expense. No, not really. No. And in addition, Barrett worked on the Bush versus Gore case, which was, of course, after the disastrous 2000 election. Hanging chads became a thing and a national punchline and catchphrase. So she was directly responsible for handing Bush that win when it was clear that everything in Florida had been rigged to his favor by his family member. And even though Gore won the popular vote, but it gets worse. It definitely gets worse. So Barrett once ruled in favor of the auto parts corporation named AutoZone. They actually transferred one of their Black workers to a different store because they had a policy of segregating their employees based on race. And no, I'm not kidding. AutoZone, as they explained it, routinely transferred Black employees to predominantly Black neighborhoods, and they transferred Latino employees to predominantly Latino neighborhoods. But Barrett had no issue with this. This was a clear violation of civil rights laws, but she ruled that no, AutoZone had done nothing wrong. Are you serious? I mean, as the attorney for this gentleman pointed out, this is exactly what was fought against in the civil rights era. Separate but equal. It's complete and utter racist bullshit. She also sides against the American people in general by refusing to hold corporations accountable for pollution. She proved this. She ruled against the Army Corps of Engineers. They were trying to protect wetlands in Illinois. And she said, nope, yeah, these corporations have a right to pollute your water, cause disease, throw their toxins wherever they want. In regard to sexual assault, and I find this and the racist BS to be the most egregious, Barrett has ruled and written opinions in ways that make it easier for men to sue their school if they're found guilty of sexual assault and held accountable by that school. She basically said that schools who take a strong stance against sexual misconduct are discriminating against men. Are you serious? I don't wish anything on her, but I would love to see how she changes her mind if one of her children is sexually assaulted. This woman clearly lives in a really pathetic bubble. Barrett also believes that same-sex marriage should be left up to the states to decide, which is, coded language for, we'll just let states go ahead and discriminate. And that way we don't have to be held accountable. She also believes that transgender people do not deserve protection under the law. Okay, so you're religious, you claim to believe in God, be this good Christian, but you're spitting in God's face. God created all of these people. You may not agree with who they are, but that's you saying you disagree with God, that you are saying God makes mistakes. So maybe you need to check your religion a little bit more. Barrett has also ruled against consumer protections when it comes to misleading and lying to the public, when corporations put out misleading statements or advertising that is flat out a lie. about their products and services. She's ruled against a woman whose doctor admitted to committing malpractice. This woman ended up with pain and bruising. She had to have an additional treatment or something that cost her hundreds of dollars. She ruled against this woman and for the doctor after he admitted to committing malpractice. And there's a lot more. I won't bore you with all the rest of it, but I'm going to drop a link to the breakdown and the details in the description box below. But it's clear this woman is an absolute detriment to society. And she's only going to continue serving her corporate masters if she is put on the Supreme Court. And this is all the while we're in a pandemic, we're in a depression, the wealth gap continues to grow in this country. We've got the 99% already have no way to fight against the wealthy and well-connected, especially since the majority of our elected quote-unquote leaders in both parties are bought and paid for too. So this woman absolutely, she should not even be a dog catcher, let alone a Supreme Court judge. Spread the word. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to Plants and Politics. The only way we can take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again.